What's going on, everyone? So we got some Knicks center news. So the New York Knicks have had Charlotte Hornets center Nick Richards on their radar this offseason, per James L. Edwards III of The Athletic. Edwards relayed that the news amid an article exploring 3 hypothetical Knicks trades for big men in light of news that center Mitchell Robinson could miss the first 2 months of the season to rehab from offseason surgery on his left ankle. In the Richards trade, Edwards had the Knicks sending Miles McBride, Deuce McBride, and Keita Bates-Diop to the Hornets for Richards and a future second-round pick. Also, Richards, who league sources tell The Athletic, is someone the Knicks have had on their radar this offseason, is a big physical specimen with a good motor. He rebounds okay, too, and can be disruptive at the rim. McBride, though, is the best player in this deal, so I'd be hesitant to do this particular trade if I were running the Knicks front office, even if it addresses a need. Also, worth noting that Brian Windhorst also talked about Nick Richards being a potential target. He said, I'd keep an eye on Nick Richards as Charlotte as a possible trade candidate. Same goes for Walker Kessler in Utah. As ESPN's Brian Windhorst noted, Robert Williams is a name to monitor, maybe Jonas Valanciunas. So basically kind of throwing out all the center options. But Nick Richards is a guy that I like. He's probably best suited as a backup center as opposed to your starting center. However, right, the idea is that Mitchell Robinson is going to be your starting center. So eventually Nick Richards would move back and kind of fall back into that backup role. Right, talking about a true 7-foot center. He has a 7'4" wingspan and a guy that give you, in the right role, give you a double-double somewhere in that ballpark, right? Like last year, for example, in 26 minutes of action, he averaged just a hair under 10 points, 9.7 points, as well as 8 rebounds. So again, can be a 10-10 guy. 10-8 guy, give you an assist, half a block or half a steal, 1.1 blocks per game. Even in limited roles. So like the previous year for Charlotte, he played under 20 minutes, played 18.7 minutes per game. Still gave a similar stat line, 8.2 points, 6.4 rebounds, half a steal, 1.1 blocks. So it's a guy in a limited role, in 20 minutes a game, can give you basically 8 and 8 with a block per game. Again, not a guy that's like a total game. It's not like, oh, that's it. They got Nick Richards, hand the Knicks the championship now. But it's a need that you can bring in, you can kind of plug and play. He's still very young. He's 26 years old, right? So you're not getting some old center that's just like, okay, like this is just momentarily. Do we really want to sell the farm for? But you would have to probably give up a like Deuce McBride, which I know Knick fans wouldn't be a very excited about that, but you got to give something to get something, right? And also with McBride, he's 24 years old, right? But he's 6'1" point guard. Problem is, you have DiVincenzo, you have Josh Hart, you have guys that it's like, what kind of opportunity is Miles McBride? What kind of opportunity is thinking of Hornets, right? Miles McBride, how much opportunity is he really going to get long-term with the Knicks? Because all the guys on this roster are still very young. The Knicks are probably going to have this core for at least the next 4 or 5 years plus. So now you're talking McBride's going to be 28. Is he even going to want to stick around at that point? Does he ask to be departed at some point? Or does he just want to get out and kind of give him the opportunity to go to a team like the Hornets and, maybe he can kind of figure out a role or, maybe work out a third team or something, right? Like gives you some flexibility while also filling in a need and a void that you have currently. Because, the Knicks don't have this like plethora of options right now at the center position, right? You have like Jericho Sims, you have, you have Precious, right? But these guys are all undersized. They're all big question marks, right? Precious is great as just kind of like that pit bull, high energy, just motor guy, right? He's a guy you want to just plug in and just kind of let him just be energetic and crash the glass and be a lob threat and all that stuff, right? But he's not a guy that you ideally want at your starting center spot, right? He's kind of closer to like your third big. You kind of slot over. If your big can stretch the floor, maybe you can slot him alongside at times. But he's like Knicks have had guys like this before, and they've liked those guys. Think of like Jordan Hill, for example, is a name that comes to mind, right? Just a high energy, high motor, just rebounds, do a little bit of everything, right? Like that's what Precious is. He's definitely a Tibbs guy, but he's undersized, and you don't have that sizable center right now. Also, the Knicks were looking and active in trying to bring in a center even before they ended up losing Mitchell Robinson, right? I mean, they offered 2 firsts for Walker Kessler based on reports. They were trying to see what they could do about acquiring Wendell Carter Jr., right? Nick Richards, right? All offseason, they have been linked and in discussions with various teams for centers. All offseason, they've been in conversations and discussions to try to find, a piece or two here and there that kind of fill in the center void. Part of it is probably they knew that this was coming with Robinson. Part of it is probably they just want to be safe because, look, Robinson isn't this model of health. Not a guy that year in and year out is playing 70 games a season, right? So you got to imagine that they've been doing their due diligence. They're going to continue to do the due diligence. They're going to continue to try to find that center spot. But no, it all comes down to price and cost, right? Do you really want to sell the last little bit of the farm that you have in order to go get a center in Nick Richards? Or are you better off just kind of riding it out, wait till Mitchell Robinson comes back? But the thing is, even if Mitchell Robinson does come back, what happens if he gets hurt again? Right? Again, he hasn't really been this great model of health. So you're just kind of in this tough spot if you're the Knicks. I do think you're in a position to where you can be patient, right? I do think you're in a position to where you don't have to jump the gun, right? You have enough talent. You have a good enough team to where you should be able to weather the storm between now and by the time Mitchell Robinson comes back, right? The problem is that if things start going down fast, do the Knicks kind of start becoming desperate? But as long as you can kind of, at least tread water, like I don't think the Knicks are going to be a play-in team or anything, but as long as you can kind of tread water until, you can get Mitchell Robinson back and then kind of see him, kind of evaluate him. Also, you want to do your best to kind of just let him take his time, right? If you're, if the Knicks are off to a bad start and they're like, 5 games under 500 or something like that, 20 games in, 30 games in, whatever, right? Like, last thing you want to do is now Mitchell Robinson feels like he has to rush back and now he gets hurt again. Or, the Knicks feel like, hey, Robinson, we need you. You got to pick this up. Because the original reports were that, hey, both Robinson and the Knicks want to take their time. Like, he's expected to miss the first 2 months, but it's also very possible that he's going to miss even more. That all parties, all sides want Mitchell Robinson to be the healthiest that he can possibly be the healthiest version he can possibly be, because they don't want to run the risk of, him coming back and then now he gets hurt again and misses the season. They're going to need him for the playoffs, right? I believe the Knicks will be able to kind of get by. I believe that the Knicks will be okay throughout the regular season, right? They might have some struggles here and there, but I think, especially in the Western Conference, they'll be okay. It's the playoffs, right? You need Mitchell Robinson come playoff time. You need him to be able to give you 20 to 25 minutes a game in the playoffs, game in and game out, have that impact so that way you can try to go win an NBA championship here. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. We'll see how it all develops with Mitchell Robinson and the Knicks, and like what the Knicks do as far as the trade front goes for the center position. Because now, if we're being honest, they could use the center. Even if Mitchell Robinson was healthy, again, like the center position would be nice to fill, at least the backup, to go get like a true backup center rather than somebody that's just like, this may or may not work, right? Precious may or may not work, right? Sims may or may not work, right? Okike may or may not work, right? They're all undersized. They're not all true 7-footers. They all don't protect the rim the way that, Robinson or Nick Richards and guys like that do. Richards, again, is best in a backup role, but they're hopeful that when Robinson comes back and is healthy, then guess who's moving into that backup role? So just something to keep in mind. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? You know, do you think like, just be patient, just let it go, let it be okay? Do you think that like, hey, you know what, we need to go and get that piece, you need to go get that guy, you need to bring somebody in that can really make an impact out the gate, you know, like a Nick Richards that can come in and kind of fill the void, fill the gap. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. We enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.